Good. Other than I hate my job, but that's fine.
What do you do?
So I work. It's kind of like a call center. It's like a real niche call center. We run. We remotely run home inspector offices all over the country.
Okay.
And it. I got this. It wasn't really a promotion, but it was like less responsibility, less time on the phone, and same pay. And it was like I would help other teams do emails unless someone was sick, and then I would hop on their team and help. And they took that away from me and put me on this new team. And I don't like my new manager, and I don't like this team, and it just sucks. And I've been with the company for 4 years now. But this new team, I'm not even a month in yet. So I'm still learning. And so like, I've been at this company for 4 years, and now I feel like I'm having to relearn all this shit. And like, no one asked me, right? It was just like, hey, you're going to do this now. And I was like,
oh, that's different then. Yeah. That's completely different. If someone just puts you on it. No.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. And I love working from home, and I'm working 8 to 5 now instead of 10 to 7, which is nice. But everything else sucks.
I believe it. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you got to do something to buy the comics, though, right? Like
That's right.
They don't pay for themselves.
No, they don't.
And now I'm into manga too, and so I'm just like, how much money can I spend all the time? It's fine. Like, I keep joking that I'm buying for my retirement because when the pandemic was in full tilt, I very much found retail therapy, and I bought so many books, man, and just not because I wasn't going out, wasn't spending money, for a while I avoided the food delivery clusterfuck, which is like so convenient, but it's so expensive, and like so I just had money sitting around, and I just started buying all these books that like I wanted. And a ton of omnibuses, and now I'm like, when am I going to read these?
Library building. That's all.
Yeah, I basically have like a graphic novel library now, and then and no now I need to buy shelves. Like everything's like stacked up on the floor. Everybody makes fun of me, and I'm like,
make sure you get good shelves, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I'm actually going to build them. I kind of like that industrial look with the like cinder blocks and wood planks, and then you can like spray dye the wood planks real easy, and I just need to do it.
That would look good.
That's the plan, though.
I bought like the cheap Walmart ones when I had a room.
They start bending.
It scared the shit out of me every time. I was like just staring at them, waiting for them to go. Like it's gone. Like I got rid of it before they went, and like, but man, yeah. And then going from that to like a real wood bookcase.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't know. It felt like
I've never had one break. But I learned like when it was like bent so much in the middle, I was like, this isn't gonna. And it was like that was like back in my trade paperback days. Now I'm addicted to omnibus buying and like fancy hardcovers and shit.
They're so
like,
nice.
Dude, it's the way to do it. Like they're expensive, but I mean when you break down like cost per issue, and stuff, and of course like I'm on Marvel and DC digital apps too, and I still buy omnibuses. And people are like, read them digitally. And I'm like, it's not the same.
No.
Like I'm not a purist. I like digitals. I have a great tablet, and all my review copies and stuff. That's how I have to read.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about the omnibus is like they're just so heavy. Someone showed me like if you put them in like a wooden Bible reader and just put it on a table and read it that way. And like I need to get one of those because I hate all my omnibuses. Like I like them, but God, they're just fumbling with them while I read them. It's a workout to hold them and flip the pages.
I always joke that I've been single for so long. I have the forearm strength.
There you go. Yeah, the books.
I actually, for like $15, I bought a lap desk on Amazon, and it's like padded to sit on your lap.
Oh yeah.
You can kind of adjust it. And it's also nice when you're like laying down in bed, you can kind of like lay on your side and it's propped up.
Yeah.
And it's, but now I want like a nicer one because I'm like, this is so nice. But they do have ones with like cup holders and shit. And then they have one that like you can put your laptop on and have like a little deal pop out for your mouse. Like the lap desk game is, you can really.
That would be it. Like, yeah, I got a tablet too. And like, it's hard to like, I got the pillows underneath me and just like flipping it that way. But yeah, that would be the way to do it.
Have you ever fallen asleep and it hits you in the face?
Not yet. No.
Oh man.
I'm sure that's coming.
Like right in the fucking teeth. Like it got me the other day. I was like laying on my back reading late at night, and I nodded off, and it was just boom. Oh no! And then like it hurt my mouth, but then I was all like woke up and turned the light on. I'm like checking my screen. Like, did I scratch it? Is it okay?
I'll be more afraid of the screen than like chipping a tooth, to be honest.
Right? Yeah. Like you can fix the tooth.
Yeah.
I still owe Amazon payments for this fucking tablet.
Yep.
All right, so I'm gonna do I'll do a quick intro, and then basically how I'm doing this now is I'm gonna release it. I'm dropping this on Sunday. It'll release as a podcast, and I'm also gonna put the video chat on YouTube. The podcast, I'll edit it a little bit and make the audio sound better, and then like YouTube they'll get this little intro part that the podcast won't get, and anyways, and then so I'll put all that out, and then everybody will buy Shows In Volume 2, and then you'll get super rich and won't have anything to worry about anymore, and
that'd be nice.
We'll be all set.
No, it's Mad Cave. No. No residuals or anything. They own all of it.
Oh wow, okay. I don't that part I don't understand. I get it's like now we're dealing with like people aren't getting paid, weird stuff's happening. No one, you hear like stories about like when Ed Brubaker talked about how he made more doing a cameo for Captain America than he did for creating the Winter Soldier, and it's just like that's weird. God. Like all those millions and millions of dollars, and none of the comic people see it. But anyway, we get into that. Into all that happy stuff here in a moment. But yeah, I'll do this quick intro, and then we'll just hit the ball running, talk about your awesome comics and whatever else you feel like jamming about.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Buzz babies, we are back for another episode, and this week I've got the writer of one of my favorite comics. A while back I read this crazy alien tale called Stargazer, and it moved me to tears. I love alien abduction stories. It also had these great cast of characters, tons of emotion, tons of great art. Now we're back to talk about this writer's new book, Shows In. I didn't know I was into Carnival Comics until just recently. I've got Anthony Cleveland in the house. He is so talented. He's so awesome. He's so nice for spending a night with me when I'm sure he's got other shit to do. Anthony, how you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, awesome intro. Thank you for that. Yeah.
No, that's I like to start the show here so that when it peters off and I fail you later, like I got you lifted up already. So
I'm there. Drift. I'm
there. Again, I'm super excited to talk about your comics. Like for real, man, Stargazer is one of my favorite books. I stumbled across it because of the art and the logo, right? Like it very much sticks out, in the color palette in that wonderful trade volume 1 cover, which is the original number 1 cover. But a while back I was on this other podcast that I quit a lot of podcasts. That's why I do it by myself now, because I can't quit myself. And so I was on this podcast, and to kind of like, we did like practice runs where we kind of like worked with each other and saw how each other vibed. And so like we do like these, before we did our first real show, we did these practice episodes, and each week, like one of us picked a book for everybody to check out. And so this one week I was like, guys, I really want to check out this Stargazer book. And everybody loved it. Like everybody was like, holy shit. And everybody was super into it. The alien abduction story is so great. The family aspect of it all, the tension and stuff. I just reread it to get ready to talk to you again. And I was like, the same, it's still like, even the parts that I knew were coming, like still hit me in the feels. And now like I've stumbled across this new comic, and now I've known I will throw myself under the bus here. I've known about Shows In for a while, but I didn't know that if it was like a comic book for me. Like I was like, I liked Carnival, but like the Carney stuff, it's not really like my jam. And I am so glad I read it, because holy shit, like volume 1 was great. And then volume 2 does like 8 lines of cocaine and a bottle of whiskey and goes even hard. Like it ramps up and it gets so much, like volume 2 gets so much crazier. And it's so different. I've never really read anything, it blends like the fantastical, and it's a little bit horror and a little bit creepy. And then as volume 2 comes on, we get that like cultish, the cult comes up, and the weird kind of religion and the gods, and like, where did you get this? Like how, like the way you script it, the way like to outline the story, like because you go from like you take it past 10, you go to 11 and 12 sometimes, and like when you were writing that, were you ever kind of like, man, we're doing too much, or I need to back off a little bit, or like, you know, like jumping the shark kind of, but you jump the shark, but it works, right? It doesn't take away from anything.
Like I got excited for like the little things in that book, and I think from the little things they built like to crazy big things. Like I just wanted, I love chainsaws and pigs and horror movies. I love Motel Hell. I love playing Manhunt as a kid, the PlayStation game, and I'm like, man, I just want to have some pig-faced chainsaws in this. Like that would be nice. And like from there, it was just like giant pig monsters with chainsaw arms, and we didn't hold nothing back this time, and it was just fun to like step back and like just see Jeff go, because he went when it came down to like the Vatty has these like premonitions and just sees what's going on. Like that splash he did is nuts. Like I've never seen him go that crazy with gore and just monsters. Like if we're fortunate enough to come back for number 3, I'm gonna load him up again, and I'm gonna throw in like just little things, little suggestions, and like let him go, because that's when Jeff does it. Like if you read like any of his other stuff, he puts so much small details in that, you know, there could be a small character in the background that could have his own series. I love working with Jeff. It's just awesome. But
yeah, super talented, and definitely no lazy panels, tons of background, tons of details. Artists like that always impress me, because you know, Tony Gregori, a friend of the podcast, also a real talented artist. He did like TMNT recently. He does some Kickstarter stuff, and he's worked with Dark Horse. Like he told me, work smarter, not harder. It's not, you're never a lazy artist, right? But he learned, like he talked about, like when he was younger, it was as many details as he could, fully rendered backgrounds and everything. And then, as you get more comfortable, you realize like you can hone the reader's focus, right? And you can make them focus on a point, and then kind of like let the background blur out in a sense, right? And not have to fill in all those details. Yeah. But I really appreciate artists that are like, nah, I'm still going to do it like the crazy way. And there's all these details, but your focus is still where it needs to be. But then you can kind of go back and pick out little details like you mentioned.
That's
like,
what I was going to say.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's the replay value, I guess, the reread value that you can get with those books. Like there's definitely there for it. Villainous is the same way. Shogun is like that, the first one. I think what, even catching references that, he puts in or I put in is fun. But yeah, like Carnival stuff, like Dark Carnival is pretty played out. And I understand why some like people are apprehensive to pick it up, because it really is like, it's pretty played out. I think we started just after, American Horror Story wrapped theirs. I mean, this is way back.
Oh, okay.
So like, it was just a big wave of, creepy carnival stuff. And like how I tried to make it different was take what I liked from the old like Universal movies and then mix it with a lot of anime tropes and manga tropes that I liked. Like you see a lot in anime where it's, you have this tiny character that can get crazy, violent, that you don't expect to do, what they do. And that's, I think, where a lot of Lorelei came from. Just a big thing in a small package, and that was easy to
definitely
build and go. Yeah, but yeah, like I don't know, like just blood splattered little girls that like can shit up. Like they just, I don't know. Like that's something you see a lot. Like I said, in anime and manga, like you don't expect it, and I think subverting things like that, I think that what kind of pulled me into it, and doing some references that don't get really mixed together. Like you wouldn't mix the 1932 Freaks or Universal Monster movie with, modern anime and manga that you see around.
Yeah, it like I said, I really did kick myself from when I finally read it. And I was just, because I was like, like I said, I wasn't sure that it was for me. And then holy shit, if it wasn't, like I loved every panel. And like you mentioned, like I'm recently in the last year, I used to watch quite a bit of anime as a kid. My first job was at Blockbuster in high school, and I used to rent like a lot of the DVDs and stuff of anime, and I watched some weird shit because you get all these free rentals all the time, and eventually you run out of stuff to watch. So you just start grabbing random shit when it's dead, and you're like walking around putting DVDs back, and you're like, oh man, I'll try this. And so like I used to be real into anime, and I'm kind of getting back into that now. But what's making me do that is a year ago I read Akira, and it blew my fucking mind. And now
Yeah.
I can't stop buying manga, and I'm really into the new stuff. And I'm like I picked up Dragon Ball, and I'm reading these like iconic things that are new to me, but everybody else knows so much about. And I do see a lot of that kind of like fast paced insanity. High on visual and like and physicality, like and everything moves a little bit faster than some Western comics, and your Shozen very much does that. Like it's
definitely a goal. Yeah.
it's a snowball. It starts going and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you can't control it anymore, and then you're just like holding on for dear life, not knowing where the fuck it's gonna go, and you're loving it. Like you're on that ride, and it's just I've never read anything like it. I don't know that there are a lot of Carnival comics out there. If I haven't read them, and I think it's a good horror entry. And I also love, and you're really good at this, the family aspect. Like I noticed, I was thinking about this interview, and I thought about like all the feels in Stargazer, and then I thought about like as we see Lorelai's attachment to this new cast and this newfound family emerge, right? And then in Silverback we have the brothers, and like or Silverhair. Did I just
Silver Skin? I know what you meant.
Silver Skin. One of the Silver something. Silverback is a gorilla. Silverhair is an old guy. Silver Skin is the comic that Anthony Cleveland wrote. But even that was really good. And again, thank you for like when I hit you up on Twitter forever ago, you sent me a copy of that because it when all the Comixology clusterfuck happened, like it looks like you were one of the titles that got the indie titles that got like buried or taken down for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was kind of a bummer because I really liked that issue 0. And
I'd like to come back
like
to it one day.
like what do you because the way you ended that comic, right? You kind of say it almost read like a crowdfunded like closeout, right? But it wasn't, because you mentioned that you paid for everything. And I love how it was funny because you were like, if you bought it, stole it, or I gave it to you, like tell people about it anyway.
I still carry that. It means the world to me when someone like, there's so many other ways you can spend your time. Choosing to spend with something, that I wrote and did, like that, it means the world to me. I don't care if you hated it or loved it. Just the fact that you took the time and took a chance on it is awesome to me. Yeah.
When the group that I was with when we all read Stargazer, one of the guys in the podcast is who's told me about Silver Skin. He was like, oh, I know this writer. He wrote this werewolf book, and I was like, I love werewolves. I feel like zombies and vampires get like all the love, and werewolves are kind of always like a backstory or an add-on.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
I need you to do more. I need however you want to do it. Like I want the issue 1 to like happen somewhere, and it's really good, and I hope I wish more people could get to read it, because now it's like
I'll give it to you. If anybody wants, I'll give it to you for free. Yeah, just hit me up. I'll get you a link. But no, like everything from Silver Skin got rolled over into Stargazer. So the flashback about the note that they fight over in that, like that was a scene from Silver Skin that got taken over. So I recycled and cannibalized everything from Silver Skin and put it into Stargazer. I don't know if that's where Silver Skin would have ended up, the same bummer ending, but it was nice to try to get, I don't know, Silver Skin exercised out of my head a little bit.
Yeah.
There's definitely it was my first book. Like I was thinking about that one today. If there could be one reaction video I would do, it would definitely be to that one. There's so much stuff I've learned from just the years. I don't know. I probably would not scrap 0, but like I would do a lot of things differently. I think even narratively, it borrows a lot from like too many werewolf movies that aren't, I don't know, like even like Ginger Snaps is a sibling dynamic. And like the ghosts, I would get rid of that, because that's too close to American Werewolf in London and American Werewolf in Paris. But yeah, like I have ideas. I don't stop thinking about it. I mean, I would go back to it, but I think if I was to do it again, it would probably be a young adult novel. I would probably lean more towards
okay.
that. Just
There's more money in that than comics too, right?
Yep. Anything. I could stand on a street corner with a cup in my hand and make more. No, I'm talking like just getting work. It's hard to get jobs and keep the ball rolling, the momentum going. When you do get a job, it's good, but when there's nothing going on, it sucks, and it happens far too often. The lull. I don't know what to do with myself. I have nothing going on right now, so I'm like, what project do I start? Like, what do I do? So I'm kind of like hopping around and researching, I guess, and seeing if I can get any seeds to any more ideas.
No wonder you were crazy enough to come on my show. You're like, I don't have anything else going on. I'll talk to this weirdo for an hour. I'm glad though, because like I said, man, when I started podcasting, when we were doing those practice episodes, and you blew my mind with Stargazer, like all I thought was like how cool it would be to get to like interview you, right? And I'm still not used to where I'm at now, and you know, like I get blown off a lot or ignored too. It's not, you know, it's not like I can like hit up all the Tom Kings of the world and they're like excited to talk to me. But you know, for the indie scene, a lot of times when I'm like, hey, let's chat, like people are like, oh yeah, cool, like let's do it, and I'm like, oh okay, yeah, I wasn't expecting the enthusiasm, but awesome. Like,
yeah, like I when I first started getting into indie comics, like I would watch so many shows like this, listen to so many podcasts like this. It helps a lot. If anyone that wants to start out, this is probably where they should start. Something like this, if not this, something, you know, identical, because you can learn a ton, and you learn a lot of what not to do too. You see a guy acting a jerk on a show or something like that, and you know you don't want to be like that, or the mistakes that they made or they don't realize they're making. I think I learned more that way than any book about, you know, writing comic books I can think of.
Yeah, I've yet to talk to anybody who was like a dick. Now I've had issues scheduling with people and had like aggravations that way, or like, you know, like rescheduling and or not you know, like that kind of, where it's just like, you know, I know you, it says you read the message I sent you, like, you know, but I've never had someone outright like come on the show and be like, I don't know. I've been very lucky with the guests I've had and who I've talked to, because that's like one of the fears, right? And it's probably your guys' fear too. Like when you're on like a circuit promoting a new book, or just trying to like get your voice out there and get more people to check out your stuff. Like you never really know who you're going. I guess with me, you could have, if you really wanted to, you could have like watched a YouTube video or listened to a past episode. But you know, sometimes it's like you don't know what you're going to get. You don't know how you're going to talk to. You don't know if it's going to get weird, if it's going to get boring. You know, lucky for me, like like I told you earlier, like all I do is talk on the phone. And before that, I worked in a bar for 7 years. So I was very good at like kissing enough ass for tips, and it really works and translates well into podcasting, because I know like how to kiss your guys' ass enough to where it's not weird, but I get you kind of hyped up. You're like, you know, I write. You know, I used to write stories and stuff all the time too. And, you know, when people tell you they like your writing, it's nice. You know, you even when you don't really know how to take a compliment, it's like, oh shit, like they dug what I made. Like, that's awesome. You know, it's like, you're not in that, when you're not in that like space vacuum, like screaming into the void, wondering if anyone's going to hear it. You're like, oh shit, like I got someone noticed me. So, but yeah, I love this. I used to be in grad school. I dropped out of grad school actually from my MFA creative writing program. And that one of the best parts was when they brought in, you know, like a New York Times bestseller, or like a real big poet or somebody, and they did like the MFA guest lecture, and you'd get to like talk to these writers, and then afterwards, like we always, you know, it's Kansas City, so like our bar scene is like, people joke that that's all there is to do here. It's sort of true, but you know, we'd always like go out to drink with the professors and the guest writers at, you know, at the end of the night. And I was like, and that was so cool. But now I've talked to way more creators and writers on this podcast, talked about storytelling, talked about inspiration, talked about publishing and you know, how the scene goes, than I ever did in grad school. And I don't owe anybody $200,000.
I was going to say, this is free. Yeah, this is free right here. So
Were you ever in a creative writing program or like did the college deal where you're gonna like learn to write and did you ever do any of that?
Yeah, I got pretty beat up in college with that. I studied, film and video. And like, I think what really prepped me for how brutal comics can be is they produced a student film that Sony was going to pick up and distribute. And I wrote the screenplay for that. I did 2 ideas that they picked up, and it was just the most awful writing experience you could possibly think of to throw someone into, because I would go into the room and like the students would tell me what they want. I wasn't in the class, but the students would tell me what they wanted. And so I had like a room full of cooks, and like it should have only came from like one person. And it was bad. It was just constant rewrites. And then like the script got taken from me and got redid. And it like made me want to quit like horror, like altogether.
Oh, wow.
And, but that kind of stuff, that like adjusting to what a client wants or a client needs, really prepared me for this work for hire that I do most often with, when I put out a book, and like not getting attached to it, understanding what, this person wants, and, dealing with obstructions, I guess. Like that's, if I could teach a class, like that's one thing I think I would probably teach is like work with, whatever obstruction I tell you. Like you want to write about aliens, you can, but I don't know, you can't see them or something like that, or they're not on the page, they're off panel or something like that. I would give them like challenges to make it difficult for them, because you learn a lot that way.
What are you? Do you have siblings? Do you have a big family? Like, what's your family life like?
Yeah, I've got a younger sister and an older brother.
Okay, because I mentioned earlier, this whether it's found family or real family, like in Stargazer and Silverskin, but Show's End is very well. I mean, Show's End is about both found family and your real family, and sometimes your real family isn't really the family you want, right? And that found family becomes even more powerful. The link in these narratives to that aspect, that tight, like whether even in this like big sci-fi world-ending 6-issue miniseries, or even in a 0 issue where things just start going between these 2 brothers, and you very, very much foreshadow that like this kid's going to kill his brother because he can't control being a wolf, right? And the brother won't, like but there's still that they can't get rid of that bond. And then in Show's End, where going into the 2nd volume, we've lost some characters because of what happens at the end of volume 1, and people leave and turn away. But the ones that stay, there's everybody's a lot tighter and close knit, and that really raises the stakes as the family gets split apart because of this cult and the manipulations that they're trying to do, like with Lorelai and Pavel, and like how they separate them from the good group and try to contaminate them. And it's just, you do it so well, man. Like you come up with really cool characters, for one, that we get really attached to, that we don't want bad things to happen to. But then of course, like bad things are going to happen because you got to build tension out of nowhere. And your stories are very ruthless in a good way. Like there's a lot of stakes, there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of pain, but you're just so good about creating these fake families. And I don't know, a lot of writers can't do that. You get a lot of like team book superheroes, right? Not everybody can handle that. And every now and then if someone gets it right, I feel like you would do, like if ever like DC or Marvel like got crazy and wanted to bring you and do like a little like you'd be really good on a team book, I feel like, because you just have this really great, like you can brew togetherness in your narratives, and it seems effortless. But I kind of wondered if is that really hard? Like, is that something you struggle over, about like how your characters connect and talk to each other and build off each other?
No, I mean, I've never really had a problem with dialogue or the way people talk to each other. I don't know, like, I hope I don't. But no, it comes pretty natural. I think once I find like a vulnerability or a weakness, like I make sure that's front and center, especially in comics, because you got to show that stuff. There's no other way to get around it. You can't, you're limited with comics. It's visual storytelling, so you got to show it or have them say it. No, it's just like making sure the heart's on the page, like getting that across. I mean, I don't know if it's like if you start them in a tough situation and see how they come out of it. Like Stargazer starts in a pretty tough situation. You got Kenny injured. You got him dealing with like the relationship problems he's trying to do, and as a kid, and the flashback and stuff like that. I think it's good to get the challenges right up front and see how they react. I think Pavel's another character I really like from the first volume that became a bigger character in the second. I like how that kind of came together to parallel like what Lorelai and Pavel were both going through, even though they were at odds the whole series or the whole series. And you don't see that until the end. Then them kind of come together.
And and I don't want to spoil too much because I want more people to get volume 1 and volume 2, and with volume 2 coming out, like the trade waiters hopefully we'll check it out, and Mad Caves is pretty excited about the release. It seems like from their social medias and stuff. But yeah, the way those two characters interacted was very, very cool. I like how Lorelai helped him in volume, or tried to help him, right? And his that thought mentality is because it's like volume 1's already out, right? So if you haven't read it, slight spoiler alert, Lorelai is like a werewolf monster deity kind of thing that you find more about as the series goes on. And there's a couple parts where Pavel's like, you could have turned into your wolf or your monster, and like we wouldn't have had to deal with all this shit. You let this happen, basically. And there's like that guilt, and that guilt starts to bleed away. But then at volume 2, like they're all in a rough position anyway, right? So they're not in a happy place anyway, from the beginning to end in volume 2. Like it's a low point for our favorite characters, but there is a point in the end, in the final act, and Pavel like sees where his loyalties should really lie. And I thought that was a big moment. You'd have a lot of big moments without killing characters off too. Like in volume 1, you kill some characters off, but like, I kept thinking some of these characters, I'm like, they're gonna die. Like you're getting us too into them, and you do that real well too. You kind of like, you kill your darlings, right? And those moments, man, there's a lot of in these stories, like I said, a lot of emotional, very impactful moments where the drama comes from the relationships and dealing with people we love, as opposed to monsters and evil carnival men and big giant scary gods in the sky, or big crazy spherical alien objects, like the places you think the drama and tension should come from, which it does occasionally. But you also, like I said, do really well with this, with conflict and camaraderie with your characters. And a lot of people try to do it. A lot of people don't pull it off. And I think that's a distinction between like a great comic and like a fun comic, or something that's, kind of enjoyable to read, or, you're kind of flipping through it. You're not that invested, and your comics aren't like that, man. Like you're zeroed in on every panel. You're excited you're excited and scared sometimes to turn that page. You play with your audience real well like that too. And again, man, like I said, ever since I read Stargazer from you, dude, you are a different kind of writer. And when we've talked like off screen, when we've talked, it was, things going on in the publishing world right now, and how you mentioned like, you don't have an active gig right now, and you're like, what do I do with myself? It really fucking aggravates me, because like you're a fucking talent, and like you shouldn't, in my mind, it's not. I feel like creatives like you shouldn't have that kind of struggle, right? I feel like you should have like too many projects, and you're like, I got too much going on, and so it's so that's that's one of the things that bums me out about comics is that some people don't deserve a goddamn thing and have a fucking name on every cover or 12 variants out for every series or whatever. And then some people work really, really hard and have so much talent and write such great comics and don't get the recognition. I guess that's the whole creative field, and, you know, music, art, writing, comics, whatever. But I guess that's just life. I guess that's a reminder to my audience: life fucking sucks and it's not fair, I guess, is what I'm just getting down to. But, you know, it's just it's weird. And I know if you don't want to talk about this, we can change the subject. But I know you mentioned that you had your toes in the Aftershock waters with something going on, and now all the weird stuff's going on there, and they're releasing comic books again now. They've put out comic books the last 2 weeks, which was odd. Like, have you heard from? Has anybody reached out to you to talk to you about anything, or are you just kind of like floating in the dark, wondering what's going on?
I'm pretty sure like any book they have done, they're gonna put out. I think that's their plan right now. The way their bankruptcy is set up is they can still function. They're restructuring, so I think the courts. I don't want to get it too wrong, but they're allowed to continue and operate. So they're putting out the books that they have done and that were in progress. So that's ongoing. But as where else it goes, I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know. It's such a bummer. Like that was like I don't know. Like it was my first opportunity to like have a creator-owned book. So like, and it was. I don't want to say what genre it was. It was a subgenre of something that was very popular in the 80s, horror related. I don't want to tell too much, but it was a slasher. Yeah, I think that's fine to say. It was a slasher that rode the wave like of this current wave of slashers that we have going on, like Fear Street, the Chucky reboot. Yeah, very much in that style. The Halloween reboot or sequels, I guess. So it's similar to that. Yeah, it was exciting. I don't know what's going to happen with any of it. We're just sitting tight, I guess. That's all we've been really told. But the other creators that have books out, that we're in the process of having stuff out that got delayed, that stuff's coming. Don't another thing too, like don't unsubscribe and like get mad at Aftershock about it. Like there's creators, like, I mean, I guess if everyone has a right to be mad at them, but there's still creators attached to it, and like support their books. Like go out and get their books, like stick with it. In the future, I don't know, but don't burn your Aftershock books.
yeah, I'm the same way. Like, well, so Aftershock has always had a special place in my heart. Like that was my first when I would like went and did Blake's Buzz and started writing reviews. They were the first like real publisher that put me on a press list, and that was like my first experience of like getting, you know, the weekly emails with the review copies and stuff. Like they were the first people that like took I know how to write a good email too, right? So like I sent a good message, it sounded professional. I had a real or actually I didn't even have my fancy Blake's Buzz email address yet, but like, you know, I can write, as you know, people read my reviews. Like I'm not a dog shit writer, and I said the right things and knew what to say to, you know, pitch myself, and they were like, yeah, we'll put you on. And then, but I mean, like after that, it was like Image, and then after that, like, you know, once I started writing more reviews, like Image was actually shockingly easy to get on. It was like Boom and Vault were the ones I had to kind of like follow up with, and like, you know, hey, it's me again, like it's me, hi, you know. And but yeah, it totally works. But yeah, so they've always had like a special place in my heart, and I love their books. And it was a really big bummer when all this started going down, and it gets even a bigger bummer when I get to know a lot of you guys, right? And there's so many, and so many people get affected by it. And it's not just Aftershock. Heavy metal is having trouble, and heavy metal's huge. Like it's, you know, and IDW stock was crazy low a few weeks ago, and so it's like publishing is the new horror story.
Yeah,
now, right? It's like you never know what's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, like I don't think you can blame it on COVID and COVID issues. After it seems just, I don't know, like I don't know where to begin with it. Like missteps. That's all I can really say. It's just a bunch of missteps over and over, and just the wrong kind of communication.
Yeah.
I don't know where it would start or where it goes to, but that's very misleading. Folks don't really know what's going on, and it's the people that should know what's going on aren't being told. I don't know. I mean, I don't even have a clear picture of what happened there. I don't have a clear picture of what's going on elsewhere. But it's interesting. Like I'll ask like publishers I'm good with, like, dude, what's going on with all these other people? And like they don't really like to talk about other publishers. And like that's fair. Like that's a good practice. Like not to share gossip with another person who's going to go on a live stream and just dump it all.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on like the crowdfunding circuit? Like, because
man. Yeah.
A while back, you showed me your horror short collection that you said you were kind of like hasn't found a home yet, but it has a lot of good. It's like some quality, awesome stuff. And I mentioned then to you, like, I was like, what do you kind of think of crowdfunding? And you weren't like, you're not against it, but you also weren't like, you're not one of those, like, everybody run to crowdfunding people, it seems like, either. Because if you can do it right, if you can do everything yourself, and if you want to ship everything and pack everything and handle your own marketing and stuff, a lot of people can't hang there, right? Like that's where a lot of people struggle, which is funny too, because it's not like every publisher is out there like with the swinging the sign on the street corner, right? Like, buy our new book. It's like you're still it's a lot of you guys are still kind of like left to your own devices in that regard. But I feel like Kickstarter is a lot of extra work, and it seems to pay off for some people. But I won't lie, I used to do a lot of work with Kickstarter stuff, and I feel like I've gotten priced out of a lot of it now, because this new trend of like it's basically a one shot, maybe around 40 to 48 pages, and it's after shipping you're looking at like $17-18 a lot of times. And you get some extra stuff, like you get a bookmark, a trading card, some pogs, or a pen or something, and the paper stock is better and the cover stock is better. You're getting a better product. But there was a time when I was backing several projects a month, and then I switched to digital, pretty much switched all my Kickstarter pledges to digital to try and keep doing that. And even now, man, like digital, paying $10 for a digital comic, that's a big thing. And I get it. I get why printing costs are up, shipping costs are up. You got to pay your artists, you got to pay your colors, the editor. People got to eat, people got to get paid. But it's kind of a bummer that even now, with all these problems in direct market publishing, now the crowdfunding, there's like a crowdfunding dilemma too of like everything's more expensive in an already higher priced market. And so like, even then, like, I used to really want to make a comic, and I tried to get in an anthology and it didn't happen. And they wanted to do a one shot with me. And then I lost my artist. He said he quit comics, but he really quit our comic and just went and worked with all these other people. Yeah. And that like made me real sad. And and then of course everybody tells you, they're like, oh dude, that's comics. Like, comics are going to break your heart. I'm like, okay, I've heard that statement before, but until you really get kicked in the nuts by it, and like you get excited and have that excitement like swept out from under you as like a comedy rug pull, right? Like that's a shit feeling. And I was like, I don't know if I want to feel like that again, and
it doesn't go away. Like I've had like this aftershock problem. I had it happen before, where you get a creator-owned project and then the rug's pulled out from you, and then it's not there anymore. It's gone. And like it sucks going through it twice. It's like, at least I had another gig before that, before the rug got pulled out again. But if it happened back to back, like, I don't know. I don't even know what. I don't know.
You're already wanting to go into YA fiction.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're already like I'm about to go in a whole new genre, motherfuckers. No, but
yeah.
I don't understand. Can you help me here? I legit have a question. I don't understand YA or all ages, because like the YA all ages comics I've read, and also like the Star Wars High Republic stuff. I've bought the YA younger audience Star Wars High Republic books to like get the whole story, and because I'm a completionist and hate having money and just want to buy everything. But the all ages younger stuff, I loved Charles Soule's the first High Republic novel. It was great. It was like this police procedural, but for Jedi, and it was dope. Oh, cool. Like it was fucking crazy. But like then like I read this up, the YA High Republic is like these like Jedi and scavengers end up at this like lost space base, and it's like a haunted space station kind of. And I was like, what is that? I was like, this is amazing. And like and so I'm like, the language is good, the writing is good, it's not like a limited vocabulary, people still die, the stakes are high, and I don't what is the cutoff, like what makes it YA as opposed to like adult? Because it still feels like my emotions are being manipulated, and like I said, I'm impressed with the structure, with the writing and the package. It doesn't feel that, and it's Star Wars too, right? So it's not like in Charles's book everybody's like fuck the Sith, fuck figgity fuck, you know. And it's like the language is very similar. There's not a lot of cursing and stuff anyway. So I've always been confused at what makes something this and what makes something that.
Yeah, I mean, I've just started getting into YA horror. I mean, I read some graphic novels YA, but like there's a certain style of art that you can see. You can see a YA book and you're like, okay, that's a YA art book. Like, you know, it's easy to pick up and point out. But like, no, I've read the one that got me that I'm like, YA doesn't fuck around, was The Merciless by Daniel Vega. It's about this group of girls who kidnap another girl and like try to force her and torture into an exorcism. Well, they're torturing her like and exorcising her, but like the whole time it's, you know, the lead of the clique, the girl caught the other girl cheating on her boyfriend. So it's like, is this really an exorcism that's going on, or is she getting like a twisted revenge? And it goes harder than any splatterpunk book, not harder, but just as hard as any splatterpunk book from like the 80s. The gore is nuts. The descriptions of torture are just stomach turning, and it's just like, this is YA. This is YA. Like it's a lot of it's just like you kind of got a feel for it. Like I think the gore and the violence can be okay. There should be a limit, I think, there. But like there's an area where you don't really trespass. I think that's like having explicit sexual situations on the page. Like you don't, that's fucking teens. Like you don't need to go there. But there's times where they talk about it. Like they said, like, yeah, I have been with this person, and you know, like there's drinking, there's sometimes there's, you know, like base drugs, like, you know, fucking weed, but like that stuff's all there. I think it's a lot of it is it's pace, and like you have to keep it like interesting and fast, and like, and that's why I'm kind of pulled to it too, because it's all character driven and it's all just every chapter, every page wants you to keep going. At least the books I've read so far, and it's not dumbed down. Like none of it is dumbed down at all. It's the same level of vocabulary you get anywhere else, any other horror book I can think of. It's like one of those things like, this is my hole, I belong. I fit right into it. I just gotta, it's hard. It's a big jump going from descriptive script writing to prose, and I'm trying to get there, and I'm studying my ass off, but it's good.
Yeah. It's, so prose is my background, right? I used to write short stories, and then I started dabbling. I was working at a bar and I was a bouncer, and I had all these really good drunk stories, right? And like crazy, like I got in some fights, you know, like I used to get in fights a lot, even when I didn't want to, even when like, you know, like I said, I worked in this bar for 7 years, and the last couple of years, I broke 30. I think I was 32 when I lost my job. And like, after 30 was when like, even when you win the fight, you still hurt for several days. After, I didn't have that. I could party, right? I like drinking and stuff was cool. But the fighting got to be, I wasn't fun. And then a couple things happened where like I got scared too. And like when you get like that kind of bad scared, or like when someone goes to their car and gets a gun, and like I was like, I don't like that at all. Yeah. And so like that's when I started to learn like how to talk to people, right? And I would be like, look, hey, you come back tomorrow. You just got to leave now. Like let's not turn it into a thing. Let's just like, you made some people mad. You go outside and you come back tomorrow. We'll all be buddies again. Stupid things happen, and I got good at that too. But I also was good at like, I could pick up little college kids and when you pick up a man and carry them outside and set them down and you go, are you done? Like that's usually most people won't like want to fight you after that. Right. Every now and then, like some dude would like turn around and try and pop you. But most of the time, like, I pick someone up, carry them outside, set them down, go home. And they'd be like, mouth off, but
let them get it out. Let them get them out. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like I lived this different life, and I started to write about it, and I actually won a writing award from UMKC for this nonfiction essay I wrote about being a bouncer on Halloween, and how like hundreds of people made the same joke about like, hey, can I see your ID? And they're like, oh, I guess I have to take my mask off. Like, oh, this isn't my real face, and it's just like, my life. And and so I wrote about this, and that night I got I got in a fight with a werewolf, and so like I got to kind of play with that in the narrative of like fighting it's a person, it's an idiot drunk, but he's got a werewolf mask on, so I like making jokes about like fighting this werewolf, and I really kind of liked it. But after a while, your bar stories kind of lose their muster too. So it was like I had to find other stuff to write about. I started trying to write about like relationships I had and stuff. And a lot of people liked my stuff until that's what I didn't like about grad school is all these like even some of my professors were like, you're really talented, like you need to be doing this. And I was like, sending off short stories, and it was just constant rejection letters and stuff, and it was just like that with the pressures of grad school, like I got burned out, and then I dropped out. And I still feel dumb about it. Like what a chaotic waste of money. But it's weird how when you're trying to be a writer, or I guess any kind of artist, like any type of creative like that, like how hard it is to deal with regular life and then your creative life, and the constant like barricades that get thrown in front of you that you have to like hurdle or maneuver around or duck under, or sometimes just fucking crash into, right, and spiral out and get splayed out on the ground. How do you deal with that? Because like you've mentioned, like you've had you've had some struggles with some projects you've wanted to do and had these same hurdles thrown in front of you. But I also like, am hearing you like interested in getting into prose, interested in trying a new genre, still wanting to get out there, still having dreams of silver skin again one day. Like, how do you push yourself to keep yourself on track, even when like sometimes the world wants to stop you?
Yeah. Like it's just knowing what failure feels like and not ever wanting to feel it again. Like, that's it. Like that's probably what gets me going the most is like, I know how deep it can go in like that feeling and like how to dig out of it. Like it's like the only way to dig out is just fucking come back and do it again. Like that's it. Like that's the only way to do it. Like it's only a failure. Like if you don't learn something from it and come back harder, like if you keep making the same mistakes, yeah, you're fucking up. But if you come back and, change it at least one way and make it better one way, you're doing it right. Even if you fail again, you're going to learn something again and come back. But it's that constant, like, not give up, but I don't learn. If you're not, just learn.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like learning, like accept, like you're going to fail, like you're going to mess up and people aren't going to listen to you. I think a lot of it too, like if I didn't tell stories, like it would burn me out because they're like tumors in my head. They weigh me down.
You got to get them out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Any way I can, like, and like I'm getting to the point now where it's like I'm getting pretty good at killing some ideas, like not like completely killing them. Like I'll keep them in my back pocket and recycle some of the ideas later on. But like there's some stories that I'm recognizing like this isn't worth doing. We need to put this away and do something else. Like it's not so much like what sells. It's like, what are you excited about? Like I would focus on that with anybody. Like, what do you like? What perspectives do you have that you can share and are passionate about, can tie it to? Don't try to force yourself into something that you're not going to, you know, if it's too hard to get onto the page, it's probably not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Like that's difficult for folks to understand too, when they're, you know, really want to get this story out. It's like, maybe it shouldn't come out. Like maybe it'll come out later. Like just
or step away for a moment. And well, like you mentioned earlier, you know, some of these ideas you had for Silverskin ended up coming back into play, you know, with Stargazer. Now I know you're a big horror guy, and I know it seems like that's your comfy spot, right? Like that's your big comfy reading chair that you can like sit in the cushion and sink into and fall asleep instantly. And you're great and you're great there. And like I said, like I didn't really know Show's End was a horror title until I kind of went into it blind. Like honestly, like I just was like, I like Mad Cave a lot. I knew what they were doing. I'd seen some covers, and you know the art looked cool, but I didn't really know. I hate comic book solicits. I know they're very important, but I feel like sometimes they tell you too much. And I know that they're trying to like elicit a reaction and get a pre-order, right? Like that's the goal. But I just feel sometimes they give away too much information, and it's kind of cool sometimes going in, oh, this cover looks cool, I'm going to pick up this book, I know nothing about it, and it blows your mind. That's a cool feeling, like, right? It's just like you have no idea what you're getting into, you have no idea what to expect, you know, and it's just like, and you get taken for this ride that you didn't expect. And that's what happened with Show's End, and like the how creepy and scary it got, especially like towards the end of volume 1, moving into volume 2, and how everything volume 2, especially there's a lot of body horror, there's a lot of monsters, it gets nuts. Oh my god, the scene at the bait shop scene when he takes Lorelei to the bait shop, like, dude, that's so fucked up. Like I couldn't imagine that in my wildest dreams that was going to happen. And so like that was such a cool moment. But then you do this very sci-fi, scary in the sense of like our world might end, but not horror, right? It's not sci-fi horror. It's a sci-fi alien invasion story kind of about, which is, and it's also about memory repression, and it's about having those close friends and growing up, and how hard relationships are to maintain as you grow older, right? And which is such a real problem for everybody, and is one of the magic things of Stargazer, that it anchors you to the plot because you've been there, and you're reading it and you're feeling fucking guilty, and you're like, oh my god, I need to call my 3 friends, like I haven't talked, you know, like you manipulate your audience in such a great way in Stargazer, on top of the alien narrative and that astounding art and the colors and art in Stargazer are so magical. I get another comic that I haven't seen a lot like it on shelves, and that's another trade that's still in print that you all can get, and you should, because it's a beautiful piece of comic. And but so how did that happen? Like how did you get this random sci-fi itch and scratch it so fucking excellently? Like
90s, man. Yeah, that's all from the 90s. That's man, it was so saturated in the 90s with unsolved mysteries and like X-Files. Like it was everywhere. You couldn't get away from it. And like I was scared shitless of aliens when I was a kid. There was no, it was bad. Like it was there was a show, a promo. It wasn't even a show, it was just a promo. It was called Incident at Lake County. And at the time I lived in Lake County, Indiana. And so what Incident at Lake County was, it's a documentary style found footage piece about an alien abduction coming to this family, taking them away. And like at the time, like there was no Blair Witch. I didn't know what Cannibal Holocaust was. So this is playing out straight real to me. And like I'm living in Lake County and I'm seeing guys shoot at the doors and aliens come in. Like it got me bad. I was too young to see anything like that. And so I just kind of latched onto that 90s alien fear I had, and that kind of came from it. And like what kind of works with that one is you don't see the aliens or ships or anything like that until probably like issue 3 or 4.
Yeah,
Maybe?
it's after the midway point when you finally see the reveals.
So it's like keeping that off the page was important to me. Like I try to experiment with horror in comics because it's hard to scare people in comics, and I think it is. And like the best way you can do it, I think, is to keep it off the page. You can't really put in the shadows because even when you see shadows in horror comics, it's like just to keep as much to the imagination as you can with the comic book. That's kind of worked for me so far.
That's like awesome. Yeah. I have a very similar story because my dad let me watch Alien when I was really little, and it scared the ever living crap out of me. And I don't really remember it, but like I remember like being a kid and having alien nightmares. But apparently there was like I would have like a screaming fits at night sometimes, and my mom got really pissed at my dad and was like, "I can't believe you let him watch this fucking movie," and like that. So I remember my parents fighting about this alien movie and me getting to watch it, but it instilled this wonder and fascination in me, and like sci-fi horror is like my favorite thing. Like Event Horizon is one of my favorite movies, and it like breaks my heart when people call it like a silly B movie, and I'm like, it's so much more than that. And but I remember being a kid in the 90s and fucking Unsolved Mysteries, sightings used to terrify me. I lived every day in fear that the aliens were going to come get me. I just knew, I was like, I'm going to be the motherfucker who gets abducted. And then my dad took me to see Fire in the Sky.
Oh no, I was going to mention that.
Oh my God. And like, dude, when they wake up in the pods and like the weird skin and like he's getting dragged through how
old were you?
Dude, I was in grade school. I was like second or third grade, maybe.
Oh, no.
I was a little.
No, because that's the same like vibe and texture as Alien 2, like that orange color. Alien 3 too, like that orange teal color, and it's
yeah.
I bet that was rough. Rough because it comes out of nowhere. It's at the end of the movie too. Like it's like you just build to it.
Yeah, because I haven't watched it in a while. I kind of want to watch it again. But then I remember like the way it was structured. Like you keep seeing like the light, right, when he's in the truck and the light hits him, and you like as the movie progresses, you get little bits more and more, and then finally you're on. You see him like get lifted up. You see him in the ship, and you see the aliens and then their machines and their probes and stuff. And it was just like I'm getting like goosebumps talking about it right now. It's like I'm like getting those old tingles. But yeah, like that. I love alien movies. I love it. And yeah, I like I said, I used to think I was going to get abducted all the time. And then Stargazer, I think really made me feel like that too, just because like, you know, in Kansas City, you know, we're like the big little city kind of, and, you know, I had those friends where, you know, I still know people that I went to kindergarten with. Right. And we don't see each other a lot, but you know, now with like Facebook and shit, like, you know, we talk sometimes, but you know, like and a lot of places that's unheard of to like still occasionally talk to people you went to kindergarten with, or like, you know, my best friend I haven't seen in a while, but I know him from kindergarten and we grew up together, and we worked in the bar together for a while and stuff like, and so, you know, a lot of people don't have that. And that's what like Stargazer, this like these relations, I just connected to so many aspects of it. And like, and it for real moved me, and reading it again, even when I knew what was going to happen, just to kind of get prepared and caught up again to talk to you, those big emotional beats still hit at the end of it. When he says, "I'll see you in the stars," I still fucking watered up, man. Like I was like, woof, like got me again. Anthony Cleveland strikes my feels again, just like, but yeah, like, I just think that's, I think it's so great. And it's one of the best alien comics I've read. And I've told people to read it, many times. And, that's one of that, you know, that was one of the big things that turned me on to Mad Cave, was that. And then, you know, and then I got real into Nottingham and some stuff like that later on. But yeah, man, you were my gateway into Mad Cave, and I have a high standard for Mad Cave books now because of that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, that means a lot. Every time I look at that book, I see like every fuck up mistake I made and things I left out and cut out. So that was means a lot hearing that, because I don't. All I hear is the voice in my head, which is telling me like, you should have wrote this, you should have done this. Why did you cut those pages? There's 2 pages from Stargazer. I don't know what happened to them, if I cut them or if I submitted the wrong draft. And it really bums me out they're not in there. They're very important character pages.
Oh, you got to dive deeper here. You got to fill me in. I got to know.
It's just a really good catch up. Like, what's missing from Stargaze, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but like, okay. What's missing from it to me is we don't have a catch up scene when they're adults. Like they like, we just kind of go into it. Like, there's so much. I built up so much little background pieces, like with what they're doing with their lives.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you have like, there's the part in the desert where they're kind of like at their limit.
They get lost.
Yeah,
the GPS is shut down and they have to use the map and stuff. Yeah,
there's that, but like, there's a middle piece there that like kind of you see, and like it kind of, you kind of just see more where they're at, and how they communicate with each other and how they talk to each other. And there's I'll get you the pages. It's only like 2 or 3 pages, but like, damn, I don't know how they fell off, because editorial didn't cut them. I submitted the wrong draft, or I left in the wrong things. Like Stargazer too I'm going off on a rant about it, but like, it's a very full book. Like, I don't do exposition until issue 5. Like at the end of it, like, we don't go anywhere. It's all mystery and action. But then at the issue 5, it's just such a big lore dump. Like when the aliens telling the background, it's like, fuck, I would have cut all that stuff out. But like I said, like, you learn, like you make failures and you don't do that shit again. There's a new series coming out at the end of this year that's straight horror. It's like my first horror book. Like, it would have been the Aftershock one, but it's this one that does a lot of the stuff from Stargazer, and just like does it so much better. There's not as much like personal connection, I guess. Like Stargazer has a lot of personal connection to it with the Kenny and Shay going on there. It doesn't go for that so much, but it's definitely like me dealing with like a lot more stuff that I think folks will be able to see and identify with. Yeah, I'm excited for that one. That one, like, it's similar where like there's nothing explained, but you get everything you need. And since it's horror, I think stuff should, like I said, be left off the page. And I think it's gonna be a good one to look forward to for sure this year.
Nice. I like this discussion of off-panel scares, things to leave off, especially in comics, because a jump scare is almost impossible. The way I've come to like reading horror comics, and a lot of people won't do this because there's a lot of people who hate digital, but like, one of the best things about reading digitally is your tablet is backlit, right? So you can turn the lights out. Turn the lights out. You can dim the screen. You can read it in the dark. Okay, so like, you've got ambiance. But if you're like doing Comixology or another one of these, like you can do the panel by panel view.
That's the way to do it.
And then your eyes don't stray, right? Like so then if the monster does pop out, it's not a jump. You're not going to be like, but it will hit you a little different, right? And then you're in the dark and you can't see around you, and you get this weird feeling, right? And so that's kind of a really cool way to read horror comics. The audience, like, you should try that. Give digital comics a chance, just to kind of mess around with that. But it does change how horror comics work if you read them in the dark and do the panel by panel view. Like, it's a different animal.
I've always thought that, like, they work really well in digital, because you don't know what's coming, because everything's kind of closed out. Like, that's like, like I said, you can't do a jump scare. Like, we can have page turns. They're harder to do and plan out. And like, man, I hate like doing a good page turn and then like editorial asking me to change something. And it's like, well, there that goes. Can't do that anymore.
Have you, Did you go see Skinamarink yet?
No, I'm not gonna be able to get time to go. I would love to, but yeah,
that's in my alley. we went on a. I still don't know. Okay, so I can't stop thinking about it, and still don't know what to think about it. First of all, like, dude, I've never seen so many people walk out of a theater.
No, I hate that.
Like I bet you 15 people walked out of the theater, but I think a lot of them, it makes you hurt. Like it makes like you breathe real hard. It hurts your eyes because it'll get real dark and then get real bright, and the grain and stuff, like it fucks with your eyeballs, and it's like physically uncomfortable. And when I first started noticing, like, I was like, man, my eyes are bothered. Like, this fucking movie's making my eyes hurt, right? And then I saw a lot of people. So I think some people maybe got like motion weird, felt weird and left.
That's fair. That's different. Yeah, that's.
But it's still like, I was like, man, all these fucking people are leaving. But there's so much of what you mentioned of like, it's like an exercise in staring into the void, because it goes back to this like repeated shot of like this corridor, and it'll sit there for a while, and you're fucking hanging on the edge of your seat, and you're like waiting for it, right? You're like, it's gonna get me, it's gonna get, and that you look around and people are like covering their faces and look, and it's like, and then that freaks you out. I've never heard a movie theater so quiet, like not a peep, no noises. That was unreal too, kind of. Like you didn't even like hear people eating or rustling of like candy packages and stuff. Like it was just like unreal silence. But there was so much of that, like, something's going on here, but it's not showing you. And that's so weird for a movie to do, right? Because that's what a movie's like. A comic, their job is to show you. So to like hide that from your audience is really different. But it worked in a lot of ways, and then other ways like it didn't. I really want to write about, I kind of want to write something for I'm working on this new, like it's not really a newsletter for my Patreon, but I'm kind of talking about my experience with this movie, just because I've never, whether you like it or not, even when you go see it, like even my sister, so it was me, my about to be brother-in-law, and my sister, and this is basically what I've heard is it's like 2 out of 3 people like it, right? 2 out of 3 people are like, what the fuck? Oh my God, this is on another level. And then 1/3 are like, what? I paid $15 for this? Are you fucking kidding me? Which is what my sister was like. But like, it's a cool movie to talk about. Like my sister, like my brother-in-law, like, we're talking, bouncing ideas back and forth. And then you start to realize, like, you're like, oh, I like this a little more than I thought. But it dealt with a lot of what you're mentioning of like off-panel scares, the things even you kind of wanted to see, that you leave the theater like, I wanted to see this, you should have shown it to me, but it fucked with you and didn't. And that kind of makes you think about it more. And that's it. I like, that's cool that's kind of one of your horror strategies and your sci-fi strategy too, because you hid those aliens from us for a long time. You didn't use exposition. It was all fast paced. It was dialogue with some really great flashbacks. The LSD not being real, like that was one of the coolest moments. Like what a twist that you didn't, like that cop out you made. And then when you take that away from us, and that's really when the comic starts hitting differently too. Like that totally changes the pace and the tension, and things start getting real fast. You're really good at structure. Like where did you mentioned you did like some film stuff and film scripting. Like, did that, create the, messing with scenes and scene transitions and stuff? Like, I feel like, did that carry over into comics easy for you? And
I think just watching a lot of movies, I think that's where that comes from. And just even watching bad movies and just being like, this doesn't work, and being able to see why that doesn't work, or like watching a bad movie and letting your mind wander and think about what you would do differently. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, it's kind of looked down like, this is what I would have done. It's like, well, you're not the fucking guy to do that. But I think that's a good way for writers to look at things. It's just to think about, like, what would I do differently? If you don't like it, like, just still stick it out. There might be something that comes from it. You never know, unless it's like really bad. But like, yeah, if you're being challenged by it, like if your mind's still going, then it's worth finishing. But yeah, like, I think that was just watching a lot of things. I don't know. I don't think there was anyone that's like editorial wise, even before that, I'm talking, that really put me on like that structured path. I think it's just mostly I have a terrible fucking attention span. I need to keep going. I need to keep moving. I need to be interested. I feel like the heart and stuff that I put in the book, that's for me to help me get through it, because that's what I'm drawn to in stories. So I think I'm mostly writing for me. Like if I'm bored on the page, like I know I'm fucking up, and I'll do something differently. Like there's this Mad Cave book that got canceled that I did, and I had trouble getting through it. And I came up with this character that's just like violence driven, gore driven. Like they just need to see blood to appease the gods. And like, that was me, like kind of being meta. It's like the readers are my gods and I need to give them all the sacrifices and blood I can on the page. And so like that really elevated the book and made it fucking so crazy. But that's what got me through it. So it's like, if you're not excited when you write something, your readers aren't going to be excited.
Up.
Yeah, your readers aren't going to be excited either. Like, don't force it. Like, people can tell right away if you're having fun or not.
See, that's when you mentioned, when I'm like telling you all the ways that I love Stargazer, and you come back with all the ways that you don't like it. But I didn't see those moments, even when it got a little exposition heavy. Like you didn't really notice it because you didn't have it in the previous issues. So it's like,
that's true.
We haven't seen this for 3 issues. And so, yeah, you got to fill us in a little bit. Also, the story that you filled us in on was really cool. This like bad alien orb thing that like feeds off of like creation and ideas and personality, right? It doesn't feed off the fleshy organic bits. It takes something so much more personal away from the society and the earth or the planet that it wants to consume, like that was really, because it's like we've seen that before, like Galactus comes and he hungers and he eats the planet and takes everything, and you kind of made this new creature, but even then, like it attacks the millions and billions of people on these planets at such a more personal level, with the ideas and memory consumption and things like that. I loved it so much. And so, yeah, like when it does get exposition heavy, like I didn't care. Like, there's the bomb. We find out, about like why this alien has dealt with these kids and watched them growing up and revisiting the certain memories. Right. It was just like all of that's going on right there. I mean, dude, you could have filled me with even more. I wouldn't have noticed it, right? Because it just at that moment you can't stop. Like, that you're not walking out of the theater when all that's going down. There's too many things at play, and it's like you're in the end game now, right? So yeah, I just thought that was so good, and I think your horror is great too, and I'm excited. I mean, you could fucking write a Western romance next, man. I'd fucking be stoked for it. Like I feel like if I just see your name on a cover, like I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna check it out and be excited about it because I have faith in you. So don't shit the bed now. But just I'm just kidding.
We'll see how the next one goes.
But what I know, like we both read manga. We both like anime. What and we both love horror movies and sci-fi stuff. Like what book or show or cartoon or movie, like what do you have something that you like go back to every now and then that you like need some inspiration or need like put some breath in your lungs, or do you like to experience new stuff, or where's some of that inspiration come from?
It's hard to find something that like changes the way I think stories should be told. There's one recently. It's a manga called I've heard it called Gantz. I've heard it called Gantz. So I'm gonna say Gantz. Yeah. Like, have you read that one?
No, I want to. It's a lot. It's like there's like what 11 volumes or something, and they're like the triple volume in one. Like I want to check it out though. It sounds cool.
Read in 1 hour. You can read the omnibuses in 1 hour. Like they're that fast paced.
Nice.
But like that's the first one. Okay, so it's like you start like it's a rough read. Like I can't like go into it without like all the trigger warnings. Like it's difficult to get through content wise.
You know, I feel like a lot of manga is like that. Like Fujimoto, who does Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
He has a Fire Punch series, and which I loved, and I thought the end was inspiring and transcendental, and like it blew me away. But there's a lot of like sexual assault talk.
Yeah, that's how that's exactly how this is. Like the first volume is that, and it's just like, God damn it! Like, like it's so hard to like recommend it to someone or talk about it, but like that stuff has to get out of the way first before you go any further into it. Like, just be aware of that. But like, it's not even that. Like you started with this piece of shit young character. Like, you think about how Chainsaw Man is. Like, you know, I don't remember the dude's name, but like always talking about his touching tits and stuff like
Denji,
that. Yeah, it's like it's just like you have this piece of shit character that you don't give a single fuck about. That he could die the next page, and like in this book, he does die. No spoilers. So he does die, and then he comes back in this room, this like empty apartment, and in this empty apartment is this black ball. This is Gantz. And so Gantz tells them to go out and they have to kill aliens. And every time they kill an alien, they get points, and you get 100 points. You can get these options, but that's the whole story pretty much. And you learn nothing the whole way until probably like the last 2 omnibuses. So it's just like, it's not about, so the things I learned from that, like, is like, you can have a dog shit character, but you have to make him grow. Like if he's going to be around, he's got to change. He's got to grow.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to have like, so you have a dog shit character, but you have to have someone else that you can look at. You know, you have to have a rainbow of characters. Like I think there's nothing more boring than having either all the characters are good, all the characters are bad, or you have like House of Dragon where everyone's morally gray. That shit bores the fuck out of me. I can't stand that. Like it's you have to have something there that the audience can latch onto and cheer for, in my opinion. So that's what this book is. And like you have this awful character the whole time, and you just watch him grow and like change and help people and become like not a piece of shit and someone you cheer for. Like that was a good change. I don't think I can think of many things that are like that. And then also never tell anyone what's going on. That doesn't matter. Like who gives a shit what's going on? Like you don't need to tell anyone what's going on. Like I think that's the wrong reason that anyone should get attached against, is like, I want to know what the mystery is. And it's like, I think maybe middle or halfway through it, I didn't give a fuck what the mystery was. Like you care about them getting the points, who's going to survive, because everyone dies like all the time. Everyone dies, and everyone dies that you can get attached to. But like with games, like they can also come back. If you get 100 points, you can say, I want to resurrect this person. So there's a chance that person can come back. So there's a lot of ways where it hooks you and brings you back. So that's a big one that's kind of changed the way I look at things. I like rule-based stories too. So there's a lot of rules with that I like. The other manga is Blood on the Tracks.
I've heard that is like Heartbreak City.
I don't know if it's Heartbreak City. It's just, yeah, I guess it kind of is, but it's more like this constant dread of, and like fear of parents. Like there's, you've got Cosmic Horror, which can be like, everything, what you don't know. And I guess this is domestic horror, where it's very local, very central, and like the fear is your mom. Like you don't know what's going on with your mom or how controlling she is. You don't realize that she's been so controlling to you. And the whole story is pretty much told in like these close-ups, like very tight close-ups, and just like unsettling faces, and like just just like you turn the page and it's a double page spread of like the mom smiling, and it's just like this creepy, unsettling smile, like something's going on here, and like just leaving that off the page. I haven't seen any other like story kind of told that way. I don't want to spoil that one at all. Just go into it and try it out.
Yeah, that's one I've been wanting to check out. Like I've seen several people talking about it. That's what is hurting me right now is I'm buying so much, and I'm doing a lot of, like, I'm new to it, right? So I'm doing a lot of mainstream shit, real popular shit. I'm also really into box sets, and I love manga in boxes.
Get it all at once, man.
Yeah, and it's cheaper too, but that's how I bought Claymore. Like I $150 for 26 volumes of Claymore, and I've read 3 of them so far, and they're phenomenal. I picked up. I need to read Pluto. I have the whole Demon Slayer saga. I still need to read. I'm really bad about like I get excited and buy a lot of shit, even though like I'm way behind in reading, and also I get like 50 review copies a week. I just got signed up on press list for Titan and Dark Horse, and then got like COVID and haven't reviewed any of their books. And I'm always scared that like one day the emails are going to quit showing up, right? Like they're going to be like, this motherfucker never reviews any of our books.
I don't know if they take you off or not. I don't think they would. I think
you gotta like join Comicsgate or fucking go crazy to like have them take you off, I think. But yeah, it's just a weird fear of mine for some reason, like and like that like old Catholic guilt that I can't shed, whereas like they're giving me all these free comics, I should probably talk about them. But yeah, but so like I have so much to read all the time, and I get these big ideas and big plans, and then I kind of shut down. Like I have weird mental like I'm not like I'm crazy, but like I get a lot of good ideas and try and do too much and then don't do anything. I need to like plan better, kind of. And I also need to get more. I need to like, even when like I'm tired and cranky after work, like I really need to be like, dude, just write a little bit, work on something, like, because a lot of times like I'll fucking watch TikTok videos for an hour and a half and be like, I could have done something with my life.
You'll feel the imbalance, like you do. And like you can feel it, and then like once you do it, then you're like, okay, I need to do this more often. Like, yeah, don't beat yourself up over that too much. Like, but yeah, I think once you'll get the beat for it.
Yeah.
It's happened to me a lot lately, so I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, just like, yeah, like I'm so routine driven, and like if something's out of whack, I'll feel it, but then I won't really identify it, and then I'll go back to the routine. And I'm like, oh, well, this is it. Like waking up at 5 a.m. to write or something like that. Like you just feel better. I don't know. I think things kind of align, and it just makes everything better. But
yeah,
buying stuff. Manga goes out of print very, very often, so buy that. Like, yeah, keep up with it, because it will go out of print unless it's big and popular, like Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer.
Well, even when I was trying to buy Chainsaw Man, pretty much what the internet told us was like, buy the volumes you can find now. And then they did finally start reprinting them, but then even when they get reprinted, it takes a while to get shipped over here. And so like, yeah, this whole deal, because I started reading manga because everybody was like, well, it's not like comics, like if you want to read something, they're printing it, they're making it, it's so popular, around the world, like, they're cranking out these volumes, and then I was like, cool. And then I got into it, and then I was like, oh, cool. I was like, what was it? Chainsaw Man was one of them. The Gundam. I really like Gundam stuff, and I started buying Gundam and 21st or 20th Century Boys.
Oh yeah.
And like I have the first 2 volumes of 20th Century Boys, but for a while, like volume 2 of 20th Century Boys was like fucking $80-$90, right, from like a third party seller. But then like I'm learning, if you get patient, they do reprint. It's a little bit different than our comics here. But yeah, there's so much. I pay the $2 a month for like the Viz Shonen Jump app, which is amazing. All you get to read for $2 a month, and then like, and it's so cheap. And so much great stuff on there. But yeah, it's just crazy, man. Like everybody I talk to there, it's like it's like getting into comics again. When I've always read comics. I always loved comics, but I didn't really get into collecting hardcore and going back to the comic shop until like, like New 52 days.
Sure.
And like when like the first Avengers movie came out, and I started like buying posters, and, like I kind of got back into the nerdy scene, and now it's like that with manga. And it's like every day I hear about like a new series to check out, a new creative to check out. And even though manga does read quickly, it's still like everybody's like One Piece, like everybody's like, oh, you got to read that, and I'm like, there's 100 volumes out right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Like,
It's hard to pick and choose, but like if you look for publishers, I think Dark Horse is the one to be afraid of the most. I think if you're reading a manga
yeah,
book, like Dark Horse
yeah,
goes out pretty fast and they don't come back for a long time. Like I
yeah,
thought,
and they're doing those cool, like the new Berserk, the fancy editions and stuff. I've gotten a couple of
yeah,
those, and like,
if they're doing good, they'll keep doing it. But if they're not doing so good, like I think it's something Corpse Delivery Service. They did the whole series, and I think they stopped doing the last one because no one was buying it, so it didn't.
oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know the details of that one. I can't say, but like Gantz and I Am a Hero, like they don't do reprints, and it sucks. Like it's done. Like so now the volumes are like what $100 a pop.
Yeah, yeah.
But Gantz is back. Gantz is coming back.
Nice.
You can get that, but like
I know Amazon's always asking me to buy, and I'm pretty sure I got the volume 11 or something in one of the last Dark Horse press emails, and like some of them are like, sometimes they're like, email us if you want like back issues, but I don't want to be that asshole who's like, hi guy at Dark Horse, I'm the new guy on your press list, can I get the previous 10 omnibuses of Gantz? Like,
that'd be cool.
Well, yeah, like, and I could ask, but I also know that even if they send it, I mean, I'm not gonna have time to get like a piece out in a week or two, you know, like, so I gotta like kind of figure out. But it's just like today I got a package from fucking Titan, and Titan sent me some of their manga to like physical manga to check out, and I was like, holy shit, like, it's amazing. I was really excited. One of them's like the origin of Astro Boy.
Okay.
Like, and then the other one is Common Rider, like the bug fighter people, who's kind of like Ultraman but not really.
Oh, okay.
And that's really that's nuts. Like it's really fun. And but anyway, like it was so cool. Like I've had some creators like send me stuff, and like Source Point Press sends out packages every now and then of like physical comics, but yeah, this was just like, dude, that I signed on. They sent me some emails, and they were like, Blake, do you need anything else? And I was like, I'd really like to review the new Blade Runner. I was like, can you send me the first issue? And they sent me the PDF of that. Dude, they've just been like really, really catering to press that I'm not used to at all. And then on top of that, like sent me 3 volumes of like real manga that I can like hold in my hand and read, and no watermark, right? Like that's and I know why they do it, because piracy is fucking shitty, especially for comics. But like, you know, like these are like real volumes, and so yeah, I was like, I felt like real comics press today. I was like, and it was just cool because it's like I'm so in love with manga right now, and it's not that I'm falling out of love with comics. It's just like I have this new obsession. There's so much new material. It's so similar and simultaneously different. You know, like it's so much more visual and moves so much. Like, you know, you get these volumes, right? And it's like 200-page volumes. And if you have a 200-page trade, like you're sitting down for a couple hours reading that. But a volume of manga, like you said, you can crank out some of these in minutes or under an hour, just because it's less dialogue. It's so fluid. It's so fast paced. Yeah. And so I'm really excited about it. I've tried so hard, man. I really want to do a spinoff podcast called Unbelievable. And I think everybody online might secretly hate me, because like I've never tried to find a co-host before, and I've like reached out, like the people that got me into manga, I'm like, do you guys like want to talk about this and record it and we can like put it out on the internet? And they're like, no, I'm so busy, and I'm like, and I get that too, because I'm like, I'm the guy, I don't have kids or anything, right? So like my life is a lot different than other people, but it's like I really, really want to cover manga more and talk about manga, and I want to find people like me who a year ago didn't know shit and thought Dragon Ball Z sucked, and like now I still don't really know shit, but Dragon Ball Z is dope. I was so wrong about it, and I'm finding so much more new stuff, and it's so eye-opening, man. It's and it makes you think about our comics differently. It makes you think about pacing and structure and real concise and abrupt dialogue differently. It just makes you, you know, it's like reading like when you're reading prose and you read like a short story, or then you read a nonfiction essay, or then you read like some poetry. Like it all just hits a little different.
Yeah, I was thinking about like what makes it different. Like it's I don't know, the way they do things over there. I think it's more competitive. The writing's more competitive. And
yeah.
I think that's a big part of it. I think editorial like does push for things that sell often, and like what has worked before, and they do repeat that over and over and over, and you'll see the same things over and over and over, but it works. It just works. I think
it almost sounds torturesome sometimes. Like you almost feel bad for these mangakas, right? Like like the crushing deadlines and the unrelentingness of it all, and like you mentioned the competition and what it takes to stick out.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, like that like when you get these banger mangas, like they're really good because they're having to rise up. Just like if you like these days now, like if you write a zombie or vampire story, you got to dive deep and really figure out how to make that stand out when there's fucking Walking Dead out there. And like that's like when I know, earlier when we were DMing, we were talking a little bit about Jeff Lemire last night, because I'm doing this like I'm trying to do these themed read months, right? So like I did Noir November, I did a Christmas to Remender and read a bunch of Rick Remender stuff in December, and this January I'm doing Jeffuary and reading a bunch of Lemire, and I read his Little Monsters, which is a vampire story, and it's like it's similar to, like, it reminds me of the Lost Boys, but with younger looking vampires that are older. But they're like these vampire children, and it's like basically after COVID 2.0 like ruined the world, and there's not many vampires left, there's not many people left. It's this dystopic world with these like kid vampires trying to like live, and they finally eat a person. They're living on like rats and animals, like drinking the rat blood, and they don't know any different. And then one day they find a injured person and they feed off of him, and then it's like it's like they're addicted to it, right? Like they did heroin and now they need their fix, right? But there's no heroin left in the world, and it's so crazy. And so anyway, you gotta really come up with these like interesting aspects to stick out, and manga I feel like has no issue with that. Like there's like all these battle manga, but like they're still all wildly different, like when thinking of like Demon Slayer as opposed to like Jujutsu Kaisen, like sometimes when you talk about them, they sound a little similar in some aspects, like okay, one's a curse, one's a demon, but they're both still kind of demon monsters. But when you read them, like the tone, the art, everything's wildly different and so unique. And again, man, I really want to, like, I love talking about comics. I'll never not talk about comics. I love talking to guys like you and hyping up books and getting excited about indie comics coming out. But I would really, I think it'd be cool to find people like me a year ago who knew some things but didn't know a lot, and to like convince them to try it, and then help them after that. Like like, oh, I read this was really cool, now I'm real fucking intimidated because there's so much to choose from, I don't know where to go next. It would be cool to like be a American manga guru to like help the helpless like navigate the scene, right? And so like that, I would really love to do that. But yeah, it's
I would come back for a couple episodes. I couldn't do the whole series, but yeah, I would come back for like horror, like anything horror manga. I would definitely come back for. That's not too big of an area to cover, but it would still be good to cover. Folks need to know there's more than Junji Ito out there, and like I want to help point them in the direction of that.
And see, I still don't know that. Like, Attack on, I don't know that I would consider Attack on Titan a horror comic, even though like a lot of the imagery is god awful, terrifying, and bothersome. But like, I don't know much about horror manga. Like when people ask me like what horror manga should I read, I tell them I'm like Junji Ito because he's like I'll never look at a snail the same way ever.
Yeah,
like
right.
after Uzumaki, man, like that shit fucked with me in a good way. But there's not a, you know, I don't have that repertoire yet of like how to like give a lot of good recommendations. Like I can give mainstream recommendations like, yes, Chainsaw Man's awesome. I'm like I bought the Dragon Ball Z box set, read the first issue, then bought the Dragon Ball box set because in the first issue they talk about all the stuff that happens in Dragon Ball, and I was like, I gotta experience this.
Go back, yeah.
And like, so like that's so cool. But yeah, I'm still limited in my reading, and so yeah, it would be cool to like, maybe that's what maybe I should just keep doing something like this and just figure out which of you fucking writer nerds like manga and have you come back on and
yeah
and spit some stuff.
I don't know if I don't run into too many that go super deep. I don't know.
Every now and then, because I'll post like, you know, when I get stuff in the mail, I post it.
Yeah.
And every now and then, like a writer I like will be like, oh, I love this. And I'm like, oh, nice. Like, cool. Cause there is some kind of, you know, I don't see a lot of, and I get it too, man. When you're writing and trying to live your life, and especially if you're writing with a day job and doing stuff, like you don't get to read every new comic book. You don't get to read every new manga. You're working on your own stuff. You try to stay relevant in the scene and know a little bit about what's going on. And you got kids, and some people got kids and families and shit, you know, and stuff to do. So I get it. It gets hard to like stay up to date. But I'm about to ask you right now, like, all right, so if Junji Ito is out of the equation, what's a horror manga we should all check out?
Man, like what sucks with me, like I like don't know how to pronounce the title, or I can type it in, but I can't say it. I don't know. I don't know where I would point you next. I would definitely point you to Blood on the Tracks because I think that's something very special.
Okay.
There's nothing at all like that. The other one that's nice and short, like I don't know. I would have to look it up. It's like Fawn No Tain or something like that. They're all like 2-3 page horror shorts that like just dig into like a little tiny, I don't know, like a little tiny fear. Like you're in a room or you're walking past a dark hallway and you're like, I can't look at this dark spot. I can't look at this dark spot in the hallway. I can't look in this open door, this open room. And then like the character doesn't look at it, and they know not to look at it. And then we see what they're looking at, and it's just like this really like tight, disturbing face.
Dude, you gotta fucking see Skinamarink.
It reminds me of when people are talking about that.
Everything you're talking, yeah, like everything. It's so. I don't. Okay, so did you? I guess these are. It's sort of a waking nightmare, but like I guess it's kind of a trope. Like it's not like unheard of. When I was a kid, and it would usually happen at my grandma and grandpa's house because I stayed there a lot because my parents worked. Like my mom worked late, my dad worked 2 jobs because they really wanted to put my sister and I through private school, and it cost all this extra money. My mom's mom was real religious, and my dad made this promise to her when they got married that he'd put the kids through private school. And so like, I mean, man, there was one time when my dad was working like 3 jobs just to kind of help us pay these tuition fees. But anyways, I used to be at my grandma and grandpa's all the time. And, you know, like when I would like take a nap as a kid, I had these really weird nightmares where nothing happened. But I would like wake up. It would feel like I woke up in bed. Like I felt like I was awake, and like, the door would open slowly, and that's literally the only thing that would happen is this door would slowly open, and I knew like it couldn't just like in my mind I knew like there was no draft or nothing, like the door was opening slowly because something was making it open slowly, and I never really saw what was behind the door, but just the door moving and that vacant dark space that kept getting bigger and bigger as the door opened, and I would feel like powerless and I couldn't move, right? Like I was in bed, I was stuck, I couldn't wake up, I couldn't run, I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything. I was like, I had those nightmares a lot at my grandma and grandpa's house. And I've read like online and stuff, like I've read that's like borderline sleep paralysis kind of like,
yeah.
It's like a problem people had. And that very much is what's like Skinamarink makes you feel that like for a fucking solid hour and a half.
Nice.
And like, and I didn't like that. All right. I've never felt that kind of uncomfortable before. And it like brought me back to these like weird moments as a child having weird nightmares. And so, yeah, anyways, that what you just mentioned sounds a lot like that too. Like these weird little fears, this dark space that like don't look there, don't look, like, and then of course, right. Like something tells you not to look there. You're going to look there. You're going to look there and you're going to stare. You're going to get scared. So yeah, it's, that's interesting. There's one that's, I haven't checked it out yet. And I really want to, and it's getting compared to Junji Ito. It's called PTSD Radio. The first
same guy
right now.
Same guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, same guy. Yeah, if you check that one out, same thing. It's
nice.
Short little stories. Same illustrator. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. I'll look in. Yeah, because I've really been wanting to check that out, and I keep waiting. And then that and what is it, like the floating classroom or something? It's
Dissolving
like
classroom. That's cool. That's cool.
It reminded me of I haven't finished it yet because when I used to pull comics a lot, I got broke, and I was James Tinian's The Woods. Like it kind of reminded me of that, right? Because it's like whole school like gets transported somewhere and all this weird shit happens.
Yeah, so like in the real world, it looks like a bomb blew off in the building, and there's just a big crater there. But yeah, all the kids are in this other world, other place somewhere. And it's just about them figuring out where they're at, where they go. And it's kind of Lord of the Flies a bit. Okay. I don't think it sticks. It kind of gets old, I guess. I don't know. I still love it. But like, that's one of those earlier ones. It's nice to see, cause that's, I think probably 80s or 70s.
Yeah.
So it's cool to go there and see kind of what manga looked like and like storytelling was back then. But yeah, there's monsters in it. Well, insects, I guess, giant insects. And then like, just the kids themselves, like it gets brutal with the kids. Like they like there's kid suicides, there's kid executions, but like it doesn't read like, I don't know, where you want to like throw the book at the wall or something like that. It feels like it's in place, and it's done with like the 70s and 80s manga. Like that's not realistic like what we have now, where it's like that hyper realistic black and white. Like this is definitely a cartoon, and there's that separation from it. Like there's some scenes in there are pretty rough, but like it's not as intense as like a Junji Ito. Like if a more detailed artist was doing it, it would be a lot more difficult to get through.
I gotcha.
But
I like how fearless manga is, you know, like, and I think that's culture too, right? Like I'm very liberal. I don't want this to like come out wrong, but like there's a lot, I've gotten in trouble with this recently. The people who, I almost said own my podcast. They don't own it, but like my podcast network recently told me that like I should be more careful with things I say online, like randomly calling a little douchebag Comicsgate trash. And like they kind of, I got like a finger wagging the other day, right? They were like, hey, like it's not just Blake Morgan anymore. It's like Blake and this other stuff you're involved with, and just be careful. I didn't, they didn't get like mad at me. They just told me to be careful, and so like I feel like we have to be careful with what we say these days. And again, a lot of us definitely do. There's fucking Nazis marching around in our streets right now, and terrible shit's going on, and that's all kind of spinning out of the same deal, right? It's real easy. It's too easy to formulate hatred right now, right? And it's so much easier to like hurt people and scare people in bad ways, not in like entertaining ways. And so it's like, we have to watch a lot of what we say, a lot of how we act. And I feel like with manga that they're like, no, like it's just like, if this is where our story's going to go, we're going to get real and dark and weird. And that's just how it's going to be. In
this case, definitely it has to go to the places that it goes with the kids, and like how the adults treat the kids too. Because there's not very many adults, and like they're all looking to the adults, and the adults are panicking, not knowing what's going on either. So yeah, like it definitely goes where it needs to go. the Battle Royale manga is pretty good too on the topic of kids, like that situation.
Is that the same like from the movie when they wear the necklaces?
Mm-hmm.
Like that they from the movies from forever ago?
I think the manga is my best way to go, my favorite way to go
Okay.
with it. Just like
I didn't know that. I knew the movie. I've seen a couple of the movies, which I loved. I didn't know there was manga. That gets me excited. I'm starting to like reading it more than watching the anime. That's why I spent so much money on the Dragon Ball mangas, like, because everybody was like, dude, there's so many episodes, like, how much time in the day do you have, as opposed to like reading the manga, and you can get that story, like mainlined, right? Like shoot it right into your vein.
That's another thing. Like, there's a discussion that needs to happen with manga, is it's not as accessible. I'm not even talking price of, the actual cover price, or it being out of print, and like that out of print price. It's just very hard to find some of these books. And where do you, I know personally where like privacy has to come, not privacy, piracy has to come into it. If you're going to get these items or read these items that the publisher's not putting out anymore, no one's being paid for it, do you go to those sites and read them? Is that the only way to do it? Like it's like an ethical kind of, I don't know, middle point you got to decide for yourself when you're getting into manga. It's like, this is the only way to read this. It's gone, basically. It's completely gone. You can't even track down like an eBay $100 copy if you wanted to. And even if you did buy that eBay $100 copy, that creator and that publisher aren't getting
They get nothing. Yeah.
So why not? I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's definitely
like, that's something that's
definitely a discussion. Yeah,
you had that, something. If you're going to get into manga, you might like you're going to encounter it. You're going to see things that you can't get that seem so fucking cool. Yeah. And it's like they could change the way you view certain things, view genres, or view a writing style. And it's like, do you do that? I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Yeah, same.
I'm a creator with stuff out.
I'm not touching that, but yeah, no, I get it.
You get there, and like, it does suck. It sucks to jump in and tell people about like this really cool stuff, and it's like, oh, you can't get it. Nobody can get it. Like,
yeah.
And I think more manga publishers and distributors are kind of like being aware that like we need to get on this stuff, like, and make it accessible some way, because we're losing so much money on this. Mm-hmm. The stuff we're just sitting on, just put it out. Like it's slowly trickling out, and thank God for like Junji Ito, because I think that's stirred up a lot. His stuff keeps coming out. Like
he's got a new Netflix show that just dropped this week too.
Like that's the thing. Like I remember when like a lot of the stuff that I was into that just got big, like Walking Dead. Like I was there reading those single issues when it was like before it hit like the tens. Like it was single digit. And I was reading. And then like just to get everyone on board with it, and it's like people are like, oh, doesn't it suck that everyone's here and doing this and it's driving into the ground? I'm like, no, it doesn't change it at all for me. Like,
yeah,
I'm getting on so much cool content from it. Like this, The Walking Dead. I love the Telltale game. That was cool, but like I got a show from it, got all this from it. Like I didn't really care for the show, but like it's still like I'm getting stuff I would like to see. No, it doesn't really bring everyone to the party. That's what I say.
Totally. Yeah. And the show we used to be real obsessed with, my family used to be real big on the Sunday night shows, right? Like when Game of Thrones, Sopranos, we do it now with Chiefs football. Like we all, my whole family can cook. I've been very blessed in myself. Like we're all good in the kitchen. So like, when we tell people to come over for dinner, most people aren't going to get mad about it, right? So it's like, but that was our deal, like have the family, a few friends over, watch The Sopranos, watch Game of Thrones, watch Walking Dead. Walking Dead started feeling like the second day of quitting smoking, like every Sunday, and it like got like too much, and it was just like I like couldn't hang it. But I still need to get the 4th compendium. But I've read the first 3 compendiums, and I do like them and want to finish it one day. But yeah, I don't get mad when things get popular. I want things to get popular. Yeah. I want the creatives I love and respect. I wish I had the kind of pull where like after Sunday, like a shit ton of people buy Stargazer, or
Mm-hmm.
you know, and they were like, oh, I heard Blake talk about Stargazer, now I have to read it. And like, I would love that. Like, I want your, when I find people I like, I want other people to like them. I want your names to get out there. Like, because if they don't, you're not, you know, like eventually, like people may quit trying, or you know, you, the rejection, you maybe you can't deal with the like, you don't want to deal with rejection anymore. You don't want to deal with comic drama, publisher drama, you know, like get popular. Yeah. Like there's nothing wrong with that. I fuck gatekeeping all day. Yeah. Like I don't get that at all. Anyway, we have spiraled, and this has been a great conversation. I do want to remind people that initially we were here to talk about Shozen, which the second volume comes out the 25th, yep. And it's going to be available at any bookstore, at any comic shop. Well, not, you may have to order it from your comic shop, but you can get it from any comic shop. It's going to be in print. It's ready for you. Volume 1 is also ready for you. And ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Cleveland is a really good fucking writer, and he's going to take you on a really good fucking adventure. And these are 2 trades that you need to pick up. And while you're at it, you may as well tell them to order that Stargazer trade, because it's still in print. And that is also, that's also great. And if you're a single person, you know, yeah, you can comb your dollar bins and shit, or you can go to the Mad Cave website and order the single issues as well. Again, these are great books that just need to be experienced. After all this horror talk, after all this manga talk, and a little bit of movie talk, I want to ask you one last question, Anthony, and I want to know, what's the last thing that scared you? Whether novel, TV show, manga, prose, whatever. Like what creeped you out when you had to like stop and turn out the lights and go to bed?
I mean, like because of this, the new series that's coming out, I've been creeping. I was a coroner for 4 years, so I've been creeping back.
No shit.
Yeah. I've been creeping back on my old cases, and like, that the stuff that I encountered there. What got me the worst there was, besides like, it was charred bodies. Like that fucked me up. Like that was hard to get out of. So dipping back to those memories, I don't know, like I haven't been really too scared, but like dipping back to those memories was rough. Thinking about like, it's like the smell I couldn't get out of my head when I was thinking about it, but it was good because I got to channel all that.
The smell was good? Like smelled like a steak?
It's good because I was able to confront them.
It smelled like I wanted to eat it, but I knew I couldn't eat it.
It was good because I got to confront it head on and put it all into a story that's coming out this year, first horror series. So there's good from it. That was my therapy. When I dealt with it then, it wasn't good, but like this was like going back to it and redoing how I took care of it. And like horror is how like you make sense of the things that, you know, fuck with you, I guess.
Yeah.
It's using fiction to kind of tell yourself and to talk yourself through it. So it was really cool to do that with this story. I think that's probably the first time like you got to dive into something like that. So yeah, the charred bodies freak me out.
I could imagine that. Yeah, that's I've never seen like a dead body other than like a relative at a funeral, right? Like I've never like stumbled. My dad had a pest control body and was spraying a restaurant, and like the owner of the restaurant or just some guy who worked there or something like hung himself behind it, and like no one had seen him for a while, and my dad stumbled across it when he was spraying and had to like call the cops, and it was like the body was bloated and stuff because it had been there for a while. And yeah, my dad used to tell me like crazy stories about that. I used to go with I want to write I don't know like if it would be a comic or a book or something, but like the pest control life is fucking nuts.
I believe it.
So my dad used to do all these restaurants in Kansas City, right? And when I was like a little kid, and his company was called the Eliminators. And so my dad used to have this fucking Derringer, this little 2-shot Derringer, and he used to always have it in his back pocket. Even and also like when I was, you know, approaching drinking age and he was bartending, he always had this little Derringer in his pocket. And my dad used to be a crazy motherfucker, right? Like my dad used to tell these stories. He used to get like my dad used to be real wild. And then he had heart surgery, and now he like cries when he watches dog videos and shit. It's so gnarly, like how he changed. But anyway, so like he gets called in this restaurant because the guy tells him he's like I don't know if it's a dog or a raccoon or a rat. There's this thing in the basement, and so my dad
goes,
right, and he goes to this restaurant, and he's like laying out like normal mouse traps and putting poison out there and shit. And he hears something, and he shines his flashlight like under a cabinet, and he tells the story. My dad says he's the biggest fucking rat he's ever seen, like a small dog. And he said when he hit it with the flashlight, the rat stood up like on its hind legs, like it was gonna fight him like a rabid kangaroo. And it was like, ah. And my dad pulled out his Derringer and shot this fucking rat in the face. And the manager comes running down, and the manager's like, what the fuck was that? My dad was like, I got the rat. And so like my dad lived this crazy rock star pest control life for a while. And,
yeah.
But he like told me all these crazy stories. One time this old guy couldn't find his dog, and my dad found the dog covered in fleas in the basement, and it was dead, and the basement floor was moving, and it was like covered in bugs. And my mom will still attest to this story. When he came home, so he had to like duct tape his jeans to his shoes and stuff, so like the fleas couldn't get under his clothes. And he came home, and my mom said his jeans were black, and she made my dad strip naked in the front yard before she would let him like come in the house. He stripped naked, she blasted him with the hose, and he came in. So he like told me all these crazy stories like that. And I like forever, man, like these, you know, like there's something like primordial, right, about like these like fleas, you know, like everybody knows what a fucking flea is, everybody knows what a cockroach is, you know, everybody knows what a rat is, but the you know, when you see them in these different circumstances, right, they turn into these like monstrous terrifying things. So yeah, I always wanted to do something with that, but like I said, I don't know what. But anyway, you know, this is we're here to talk about you and your books, and instead we'll just talk about my weird childhood and my dad the whole time. Sorry, Anthony.
No, it's good. No, get those stories from your dad. Write them down. Save them.
Definitely. But yes, again, Anthony, this was I was so excited to talk to you again. I've wanted to talk to you for since before I started Blake's Buzz. I loved Stargazer, and when for real, dude, when we talked on Twitter and you sent me some of your comics in the DM, like that was like a really big moment for me, and it just I'll remember that like for my whole life. It was just really cool. I really respect your writing and love it. And I'm a big fan, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm a big fan of your work, and you're a really cool dude. And this was a really fun 2 hours, and I really appreciate you spending that time with me. And I know you got something coming out later this year. If you ever want to come back on or want to hype it up or whatever, I'm always here for you. Other than that, man, I know I've kept you for a while. Like, Tuesday, this is going to go out Sunday, but Tuesday you can buy the new shows in, and you definitely should. Anything else you want to say to my wide, exciting audience hanging on every word we've said for the last couple hours?
I don't know. Buy it, please. Because I want to come back for three. I really want to come back for 3 and wrap it up.
I do too. It ends in a good way. It really does, but it also ends in a way where you could do more. Mm-hmm. Another deal where I think is so hard and impressive with comic book writers is because you guys don't always know when you're going to get to come back and tell the story. So you want to end it, and you want your audience to like be satiated, but you also want to like, you want to leave some snacks for us to, or some breadcrumbs to pick up and nibble on while we wait for a possibility. So I hope it happens. I really hope we get a third and final volume. I love the story. I love Lorelei. She's a fiery little carnival princess, and I want to know. I would like to see how she ends up somehow. But yeah, man, again, like, thank you so much for coming on my show. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. everybody who listens, like, I am not fucking lying. Buy Stargazer, buy Shows In Volume 1, and definitely, like, you know, call your shop and let them know that you want Shows In Volume 2. Like, it may be next week before they get it, since, you know, you're going to learn about this on Sunday, but it's definitely worth picking up. And you can also go to Mad Cave's website, browse their store. They've got special variants, some cool extra stuff that you can get. They sell digital copies as well, whatever your jam is. I promise you're going to dig it. It's a fun, wild, high-paced story, and the art in both volumes is absolutely gorgeous. Like, it will blow your mind staring at these pages. I can't get them out of my head, and I don't want to, basically. So yeah, man. I guess I always feel weird, man. I feel like I'm on the phone in grade school, like, you know, like talking to someone, and I'm just
you
like,
hang up first.
Yeah, no, I'll wait for you. You do it. No, but for real, this was so cool for me, and I'm really excited for whatever you got coming later this year, man. I'm fucking ready for it. I will be hanging on the edge, waiting for a update for that in the next few months or whenever that comes from. But for real, man, you come back on the show sometime and we'll hype that up, and I'll tell more weird stories about my family and. Go see Skinamarink, man, or if at least, I mean, I guess it'll be on Shudder in a month or so.
It's a Shudder exclusive, yeah. So it'll come.
Yeah,
I'll get there.
It has a lot of the stuff you've said about how you write and how you use structure and the unseen elements that bother us is very much what this film does in a lot of weird, unexpected, very uncomfortable ways. Ladies and gentlemen, this is another episode of Blake's Buzz. I do want to say I really missed everybody. I got really sick and I got COVID, and then I had like 2 weeks of recovering from it, and I couldn't do much, and I was sleeping a lot, and it just I'm really glad to be back. And this was I haven't had an interview in a month, Anthony, and I was kind of nervous tonight. I was like, I didn't know how it was going to go. I didn't know if I was still going to have my mojo. I didn't know if I was going to be fun to talk to anymore.
It's all there. It didn't fade one bit. You got it all.
I'm excited to be back, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have more content for you. Anthony, best of luck to you in your future endeavors. And I really hope people check out this second volume. I hope it does well for you, because I would definitely be there for volume 3. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of Blake's Buzz. I'm just so lucky and so happy that you guys still listen to me and still want to come on my show. Anthony, I appreciate it, bud. And like I said, we'll drop this on Sunday and hopefully make you rich or something, right?
There we go. Let's do it.
All right. Let's see.